Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Welcome to Detox. I'm your host, Veronica Brockwell. Well, it's the last Tuesday of the month, and you know what that means. It's our favorite doctor is with us this evening. Dr. Michael Wild is a chiropractic physician, a functional medicine practitioner, a certified cellular inflammation and detoxification specialist, and he is here with his dog, Ralphie. Please welcome to the Detox, Dr. Michael Wild and Ralphie.
There he is.
Hi, Ralphie. Haircut?
Yep, there he is.
Oh my gosh, he is the cutest dog.
He still needs a haircut. We've been going through this. I haven't made time for it. It's my fault. I've been traveling a bit and running around, and as you know, I just rolled up from Alaska. So
at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And here you are on the Detox.
1 a.m. I had a really fun-filled weekend visiting my daughter, who's finishing up her grad school education internship, and she chose Anchorage, Alaska to do it because why not, right? When else are you going to get a chance to get paid to live somewhere that you would probably never choose to live? And she loves the outdoors, hiking, climbing, camping, skiing. So it's a magical wonderland for her. And she went out there in August. She graduates in June, but she's already been hired on to stay. And she's right now the acting school psychologist in 3 elementary schools. Wow. So she'll continue on and expand that role. And she's going to be there for at least 2 to 4 years, we think. We'll see. Actually, it's funny. This year, this has been the snowiest year on record in Anchorage in 35 years. So people who worked in the school system have had 1 snow day in 30 years, and they had 8 this year, to give you an idea of how much snow they've had. So if she can make it through that and she thought that was fun, I'm pretty sure she's probably going to stay for a while.
Yeah, you told me about a hike that you took. How much snow was there?
Yeah, so that was interesting, right? So I got in. I had been up for 24 hours. It takes 16 hours of travel to get there. But, getting up early, getting to the airport, visiting, all that stuff. So I've been up for 24 hours when we went to bed. When I got there, she woke me up an hour later, and I was in a deep sleep, like drugged sleep. You know what I mean? She said, Dad, look out the window. It's the Aurora Borealis, right? The Northern Lights. She goes, this is a once in a lifetime chance. And I looked out there and I saw this little green glow, and I'm looking at it and going, that's cool. And I went back to bed, right? Because I was delirious. And she's like, come on, we have to drive like 15, 20 minutes away from the city where it's dark and we'll see it much better. And I said, well, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow. And I went back to bed. In the morning, I said to her, I had the weirdest dream that the Aurora Borealis. She's like, it wasn't a dream. I woke you up. And I literally thought it was a dream. Right?
Oh, wow.
So she said, well, now that you're up, we're going for a hike. 17 degrees, right? And the first place we tried to go, at that place, the first road was chained off. She thought that was weird, but there's a back way in. So we went around, and the roads weren't plowed, but I had bought her a Subaru with this special X mode button you hit that like turns it into like this crazy machine that goes over anything. And I had to get her studded tires to be able to drive on the snow and ice. So she hits that, we launch right over the snow and start going. And we get to the street that this is supposed to be on. And she said, well, we can't go any further than this. We're going to park in a snowbank. We're going to hoof it a mile to the entrance of the trail, and then we'll go for like a 3-mile hike. So we get to the street sign for this trail, which is a full-size street sign, and the snow is 3/4 of the way up the street sign.
What?
But we're walking on top of it, which seems pretty firm. And she's like, come on this way. And all of a sudden she goes, Foom, and the snow's up to her crotch. Right?
What?
So I go, yeah, we're probably not going that way. So we turned around and went around to the spire on the corner, which was this incredible, magnificent vista that I took a picture of that I'll show you later because I don't think I can actually show it so well on my phone, but blew me away. I was like, oh my God, this is God's palette, man. This place was, the grandeur was insane, right?
Wow.
So then from there, we went to a nature preserve. We met a bear. some wolves, elk, moose, buffalo, and small world. My friend Eddie, who has relatives in Alaska, texted me right after we left there. And I said, oh, we just went to this coolest preserve. He goes, oh, the one with the wolves and the elk and the bears. And he goes, yeah, my brother built that place.
What?
This is Eddie from Richmond, right?
Oh, wow.
I mean, small world, right?
Right.
But then eventually we did get to a hike where we did a 3-hour hike in a 2,000-foot great elevation over a 2-mile, pretty steep grade in snow where we kept going down to our knees, even though we were wearing spikes and all kinds of stuff and poles. And I got to say, I was embarrassed. It was the first time I didn't make it to the end of a hike. We got 3/4 of this, and I had gotten dizzy. I was having ringing in my ears. And I said, I haven't quite acclimated to the elevation. When we started the hike, we were above cloud level. And then we went up from there. And, it's me and my 25-year-old daughter. And she's like, come on, And so I had to stop, at 3/4 of the way to the top. But I'm going to go back in the summer, and I'm making it to the top.
It'll probably be easier in the summer, I'm sure.
Right. But wild time.
That's great.
Snowmobiling, giant blue glaciers, really, really cool. And I got home at 1 o'clock in the morning last night. Actually slept in, got up just in time I had 15 functional medicine consults today on the books. So I got up just in time to do that. And then here I am.
Well, we're so glad that you're here because everyone looks forward to it every month. So what are we going to talk about tonight, Doctor?
Well, we're going to talk about probably what I kind of maybe even experienced a little bit in that hike.
Okay.
Right. Something called the cell danger response, or CDR. And the cell danger response is a really kind of a newer understanding of what happens within our cells that relates to all kinds of different disease when our body gets put in a state of danger, right, or threat. And my mitochondria of my cells, which are the energy factories within your cells, right? That's where you take your fuel and your oxygen in, and where your body actually creates the spark of energy that keeps your cells going. I'm guessing my oxygen was a little low at that point. And I also had not eaten, right? Because I do intermittent fasting when we were doing that hike at 17 degrees up that 2-mile, 2,000-foot elevation, right? In deep snow. So I'm pretty sure my mitochondria started activating the cell danger response, right? And the cell danger response is when the mitochondria go from a state of producing energy to going to a state of survival. So picture kind of like this thing morphing from pumping out energy like a little factory to suddenly, boom, putting out all these spikes and saying, get away from me, I'm going to protect myself. So when it gets into that survival mode, it actually stops producing energy for your cells and hunkers down. And that is to make it through a fight or flight period, right? The problem is that even if you're not doing crazy stuff like I was doing, your fight or flight might be the stresses of everyday life, right? And when that starts to happen and we're exposed to emotional stresses, physical injuries and pain, chemical stresses of our environment, our mitochondria actually change their physiological function and go into this cell danger response. And that then starts causing all kinds of crazy things that can happen to your body, including a long list of disease. And a simple thing that happens is fatigue, right?
Right.
How many of us or people we know have felt fatigue, right? Where you're just dragging. You're like, I don't feel like I can get out of bed today. I don't want to get out of bed today. I hit that snooze button a second time, a third time, right? Or you get out of bed, but then come mid-afternoon, you were looking for a sugar fix. You want that candy bar. You want that soda. You want that caffeine, that cup of coffee, something to get you through the fact that your cells are not producing enough energy to get through a normal day. And what have you been doing? Probably nothing all that hard, right? Most of the time we're sitting around. So it's actually an evolutionary conserved mechanism for energy conservation that protects the cells and your whole body from harm. It basically shuts down the mitochondria because when we're in that state of stress, certain biochemicals get released in our body that open up the skin of the mitochondria and let toxins get in more easily, right? That's one of the ways when stress hurts us. So in order to protect ourselves, the mitochondria shut down, basically pump out these spikes to keep things away. And it's triggered by any overwhelming chemical, physical, or biological threat to your body. And that could be something as easy as me being out in the super cold, right? So
Yeah.
it threatens, it exceeds your cellular capacity for balance or homeostasis, right?
Because everything constricts when it's cold, right?
Yeah,
You
right.
know, and
Yeah.
then you're at a higher elevation. How does your body usually respond to that?
So at that elevation, right, the blood vessels
Mhm.
constrict. You're trying to use the little oxygen you do have, and everything starts going into a state of that deep animal primitive brain for survival, that limbic system that says, this isn't a great time to think about, you know, sleeping. Not a good time to fall asleep in the middle of that. Not a great time to think about reproduction. So when your body goes into this state, you also don't sleep well. You tend to have problems with your hormones, right? If you stay in this cell danger response, your body's not thinking about, trying to optimize your health. It's talking about just trying to keep you going on the bare minimum, right? And this leads to a lot of bad things for us overall. I actually have a list here. There's so many things. I certainly couldn't remember them. So I'm just going to read some of these things off that the cell danger response has been found to be highly associated with and basically responsible for. It creates an array of chronic developmental, autoimmune, and degenerative disorders, including autism spectrum disorders, ADHD attention deficit, asthma, gluten and many other food and chemical sensitivity syndromes, emphysema, Tourette syndrome, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, PTSD, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, traumatic brain injury, epilepsy, suicidal ideation, organ transplant rejection, diabetes, kidney, liver, and heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, autoimmune diseases like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and the list goes on.
Everything. It causes everything.
Right? Holy cow.
Yeah.
So the reason we're talking about the cell danger response and how this goes wrong is because there are things you can do to make it go right. Okay. And we talked a little bit about in my Facebook group, which you're a member of. And can I give the folks who watch a little information about that Facebook group?
Absolutely.
So a couple months ago, I started a completely free Facebook group where every week I give tips on cellular healing. And I give a written tip every Tuesday. And every Thursday, I do a live stream where anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, I explain how to use that tip in your life, or what it really means, how you can actually use it to help your body heal and repair and avoid and prevent the development of chronic diseases, right? So you're all welcome to take part in that free Facebook group if you'd like to. It's found at facebook.com/groups/restore your health online. That's how you find it. I know sometimes when you just go to Facebook and type in Restore Your Health Online, you might get different things. But the name of the group is Restore Your Health Online, finally a solution for frustrated sick people. That's the full name, right?
Oh, is that in
you don't have to write all that, right?
Okay, yeah, no.
It's just facebook.com.
I didn't put all that. I just put Facebook Restore Your Health Online.
Yeah, it's facebook.com/groups/restore your health online. All right.
Okay.
Another way you can find it really easily is to go to my regular website, which is drwildcanhelp.com. And when you go to drwildcanhelp.com, in the menu, we have programs. And in the programs, you see Restore Your Health Online. That's the actual functional medicine program I have. If you search me on Facebook and just directly message me, right? You can search me directly at Michael R. Wild. That's, my middle name's Robert, so Michael R. Wild on Facebook, and just direct message me, and I'll give you a link to join the group, however you want to get there. But I'm having a ball with it because every week I get to share more information. And as you know, as I joke around, I say I do suffer from verbal diarrhea, and it's hard to get me to shut up when I get on a topic that I'm interested in. And so I'm having a lot of fun, and people are shouting out with, hey, what about this? Talk about that. And so every week we're talking about new things, people are asking, what's the best way to naturally handle my blood sugar? How can I help heal my heart from arrhythmias, or I had some type of blood clot issue? So all these different things I talk about all the time on there. And I welcome everybody to come and enjoy it. Okay.
Well, the Facebook groups are nice because they're so intimate,
Yeah,
I think. So,
absolutely.
not
And
everybody's comfortable making comments in this sort of platform, but when you're in one of those private groups, it's just a smaller setting and everybody's in there, you know, kind of talking about their own issues,
right, we have commonalities, right?
Mhm.
And we can
Sure.
see people ask a question, you can see yourself in that question, and you can join the
Mhm.
conversation. And we have a
Right.
chat group going within the Facebook group as well. And
Mhm.
people are sharing, I'm sharing some pictures from Alaska, and people are sharing pictures from their camping trip, and we're having fun. But
Pictures
also,
of Ralphie.
yeah, pictures of Ralphie who's sleeping on my arm.
Oh
Oh,
my
well,
gosh.
almost sleeping, right?
So cute. All right.
All right.
So let's get to it then. Let's figure out how we're going to keep this from happening.
All right. So we talked a little bit, and the reason we started talking about that Facebook group is one of the tips I talked about recently was about the power of vibration and frequency, right?
Mhm.
And vibration and frequency, we may not think about this if you don't really study physics, especially quantum physics. But at its foundation, everything in the known universe is made up of vibration and frequency.
Mhm.
So at the smallest unit that we're familiar with, the atom, right? Within the
Mhm.
atom, we have electrons and positrons and neutrons, and they're circling around each other. And those are all creating a vibrational energy wave. And different atoms vibrate at different frequencies, which create different energy waves. And when different atoms attract each other, there's magnetic forces with this, right? And so we have electromagnetic waves. When the magnetic part of it pulls atoms together, they start to form larger clumps called molecules. And the molecules clump together and form larger structures that become cells and become different chemicals within the body. And they come together and form tissues. And tissues come together and form organs. And organs and glands come together and form systems. And systems come together to form you. So ultimately, it all starts back with that vibrational energy. And what's really wild, if you really understand it and go back to like, let's get smaller and smaller and smaller. Ultimately, everything is light. Isn't that
Mhm.
weird? Right?
Yeah.
So if we talk about those positrons and the neutrons, those are separated particles. But when they come together, they no longer act as separate mass or particles. They come together and they form an instantaneous wave of light. So every time they come together, they become light. And only when they become separated, they become something more dense that we call matter.
Mhm.
And that matter then forms everything around us, from my nose to Ralphie's ear to this computer right here, right? But if you could break it all down and get those guys to come back together, it turns into a flash of light, right? And science has proven that over and over. And that to me is kind of like mind-blowing stuff,
I know it
right?
is.
To realize that we are, and everything we know is ultimately light, but in a different form, slowed down, speeded up, mixing in different frequencies to create different things that we perceive as different things. It's really wild stuff, right?
Mhm.
So knowing that and having a basic understanding that, you don't have to get into the real nitty gritty of it to understand that everything is energy. Everything is affected by wave forms and frequency of how quickly those waves come. And we can alter that. We can influence that through other things that create energy. So we can do it in a negative, harmful way, and we can do it in a positive way.
Mhm.
So what's some of the things that we think of in forms of energy? Well, we just talked about magnetic forces, right?
Right.
So you can use magnetic forces for healing. I'm wearing this bracelet right here as a magnetic bracelet,
Mhm.
right? And you've probably heard of that before, right? Using magnets,
Absolutely.
shoe inserts, bracelets, necklaces. Some people think it's all wooey wooey, and maybe some of it is, but some of it is extremely effective, right? And I've had situations where I spray my wrist, put a magnetic bracelet on, my pain instantly went away. Was it mind over matter? It
Does it
doesn't
matter?
matter, right?
If the pain went away, does it matter?
Pain went away. And
Right.
I'm a fairly skeptical guy, right?
You are.
And
Mm. Yeah.
I believe in a lot of stuff that people think is nuts because I've studied it
Mhm.
and I've looked for the evidence and the research behind it. I don't take anything at face value. I accept everything until it's disproven, right? Because I've learned enough in my lifetime to know there's a whole lot I don't know. So why would I automatically poo-poo something if I didn't actually research it, right? Or see it actually work on me or someone I know. So I'll pretty much accept everything that someone tells me, but then I'll look at it, right? And I'll dig deeper and search and find out and go, okay, well, in the end, I don't agree. I think that's a bunch of BS. And sometimes I go, wow, that is the craziest thing I ever saw. Never thought that would work that way, but it does, right? So we can harness the power of energy and waves and frequency. So besides magnetic waves or forces, things that can attract or repel, what are some other waves or frequency that we use in everyday life?
Light.
Light, right? I got light coming down on me right now.
Right.
And I talked about in that last Facebook post all about the effect of light, right? And we do know that there's different frequencies of light that affect our cells differently and really affect those mitochondria we were talking about, right? So you may have heard, and we may have even talked about before, that they say if you're having trouble sleeping, you should turn off all electronic devices. Don't look at your phone. Don't watch TV. Don't go on your computer at least 1 hour before you go to bed. Well, why? All those things give off a form of electromagnetic radiation, and mainly one called light, right? But it's mostly in a spectrum of light that we consider the blue light spectrum, okay? And the blue light spectrum has a very real effect on your cells in that it stimulates cells to increase your stress hormones, your cortisol, your adrenaline. It's your get up and go response. So if you're getting tired at night and you're sitting in a dark room, what do? Turn the lights on. Right. When you turn the lights on, is it easier to fall asleep or harder? It's harder.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because harder. When the lights are on, you're producing more of that blue light wave, which produces more get up and go hormone, wake up hormone, right? Cortisol. It actually shuts your melatonin down and activates your cortisol. Well, another part of that spectrum is red light, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about red light therapy before because red light actually helps reverse the cell danger response, which is why I'm coming all the way around to that. Okay. Right. So red light spectrum soothes and heals that fight or flight response of your mitochondria. And it puts them into a rest and repair mode and an energy production mode. And that is a process called photobiomodulation. Big word, right? So photo means light. Bio means biology. Modulation means to change. So it's changing the biology with light. And the science of that is called photobiomodulation. And the study of how light affects the systems and vibration and frequency of the matter around it is called optics, right? So within physics, optics is the study of light and its impact on things in its surroundings. Photobiomodulation is how it affects your human cells and tissues, right? So in my Biohack Zone Cellular Health Spa and Gym here in Richmond, I use a lot of red light therapy in the form of full body red light therapy, focused light beams in the form of laser, a number of different things because we want to activate those mitochondria to take them out of that cell danger response, let them realize it's okay to produce energy again. And that energy doesn't only help your fatigue, but it helps the healing and repair of every single system in your body, every cell in your body. So if you're fighting a chronic illness, do you need more energy to heal or less? More, right? Your body's been worn down over and over and over, and the cells are producing less and less energy to get the job done. So people who are chronically ill, who follow just a traditional model of taking drugs to try to cover up the symptoms, tend to get worse, right?
So when you talk about red light therapy and sleep, for example, or cellular repair, what could somebody do at home?
So very easy, right? So one thing you can do is, okay, actually right over here, I have these glasses, right? These are blue light blockers. So I don't know if you can see there's a little shade to these where they're slightly yellow tint, right? Very so slight. And this is for using your computer. So if you're going to be on your computer a lot, right, man, check out that reflection in my eyes. I look like
I know, right?
So if you're going to be using your computer a lot,
it says blue light blockers, but it's blue.
Right. So these are like blue blockers, but you can go and get a much deeper red lens even and really block out that blue light. And so anytime you're around any artificial light, which puts off a lot of blue light, you can wear those red glasses even around your house, right? and that will keep that blue light from activating that stress response. You can walk
So
around your house with
it's
rose-colored
through
glasses.
your eyes. It's
But-
the light. It's through your eyes. It's not through
So
your skin. It's not. It's through
right,
your
it
eyes.
actually goes through your skin too, but the main receptors are melanocytes in your eyes
Okay.
that pick up these the special receptors that pick up these light waves, and they trigger a response in your brain to release certain chemical hormones in your body for either fight or flight or for rest and repair and healing. Right.
And you're not saying all the time. You're saying,
well, if you're chronically ill, you might want to wear them all the time, anytime you're around artificial light.
okay.
If you're trying to prevent just that stress response, wear them as much as you want to wear them. Not outside. Sunlight is different. I'm talking about artificial light, right?
Okay.
Sunlight is actually very rich in these red healing frequencies, which is why being out in the sun is very healthy for you. One of the things it does is produce vitamin D for you using these same red light frequencies, right? These UVA, UVB rays, different types of rays are going to help, just like this light wave, they're going to help produce different vitamins, right? And it's not just vitamin D. The sun produces a lot of different chemicals for your body and sets your circadian rhythm, which is your body's 24-hour clock. Sunlight sets that clock. So one thing I was concerned about with my daughter in Alaska is there's less hours of day and night there, right? Depending on the season. And right now in the winter, she only had about 3 or 4 hours of daylight every day. Now going to the summer, she'll only have 3 or 4 hours of darkness, right? So that, as you know, can have a great effect on your emotions and your mood, right? People develop something called SAD, sun affective disorder, right? And it literally makes them sad, right? Because part of that light spectrum changes, the frequency of the light changes the energy production in the cells that creates neurochemistry or neurotransmitters, which are the hormones in your brain, like serotonin and dopamine, that keep you calm and happy, right? So when people don't get as much of that, where they live in a climate like that, or they're a shift worker where they're working all night and sleeping during the day and they're really out of sync, those people tend to have a lot more emotional problems because that, and physical problems because it takes its toll on your physiology. It really screws up your digestion long term, right? It doesn't mean you're automatically going to have like heartburn and stuff like that, but you're not going to have proper metabolism of your food because your body's supposed to go through these cycles and it doesn't get to really do it on the right timing. Blind people have this problem too.
I bet.
They can't tell night from day, right? Even though the skin does pick it up, and if you feel the warmth of the sun, that helps. But it really, a lot goes through the eyes, right?
Sure.
So that's one thing you can do. Literally wearing rose-colored glasses, right? Or red glasses. Another thing is like your night lights. If you have night lights around your house, they should not be blue light. They should not be white light. They should be red light, right? So that will not kick you out of your sleep cycle.
Bedside light.
Right. So if that alarm clock next to your bed, right? If the digits on the alarm clock are white or blue or anything in that family, that's going to be waking you up. If anything, it should be red. Really, no light at all would be preferred, right? But if anything, it should be red.
Okay? It's too bad there wasn't a setting on your phone.
There is a blue blocking setting, right? And I have my phone set on that, and almost everybody's phone does have that. You might not realize it. And when you turn it on,
how do we get to that?
It's in your settings. It's in your display settings. It'll either say something like nighttime mode or blue blocking, and your screen almost takes on more of a yellow amber hue because it takes the blue light out of it.
I knew that.
Yeah.
While you're talking, I think I'm going to set that.
Yeah, check it out, right? Everybody should.
Because you like, how many times do we grab our phone because something pops up?
Exactly. I'm going to look at my settings right now to see. I have an Android phone.
Okay.
Let me just see. It's going to be on display.
Yeah.
Mine's called Eye Comfort Shield, an adaptive.
I have night shift.
Yep, it's probably night shift.
Because I have
probably
less warm, more warm temperature.
So it tends to be more warm is what you want. Less warm is going to be more the blue spectrum. More warm.
So you want more. Oh, right. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I could just leave it on that. I think it
Yep.
would be
And then
fine.
you just get used to that. So it's not quite this brightness,
It
but it's certainly
doesn't.
bright enough.
Yeah, I don't think I don't see much of a difference.
Yeah. You can sometimes notice that as soon as you do it, it kind of turns like this, ooh, like almost
It
like
went, yeah, when
you
I
see it,
did
right?
it, but then once it popped back,
Right.
it
Then you don't
just
even
has
notice
a
it, right?
slight yellow, but that's all.
So that's a good thing you can do on your
Okay,
own,
yeah.
right? There's even, you can get some of these red light therapy devices like I use in my office. There are smaller versions of that, home versions that are actually, some are very powerful and they're great for activating that mitochondria to help tissue healing. So like, for example, my daughter in Alaska hurt her shoulder. So I mailed her one of these devices to put a near infrared light on her shoulder to heal her shoulder. And this thing that had been a problem for months was better in a couple of weeks. Right. And
Really?
yeah, and it's crazy to me. There's one company that I deal with that's selling one of those devices at a really powerful level for like $120. And I think I can even get a coupon that gets like 15 or $20 off. And that's
You should put
insane.
that in your Facebook group.
Yeah, I should.
That's a reason to go to your group,
I
because then
actually did
you'll,
recently. I actually did recently share that. So when I did this whole talk on the Facebook group, in the video, I encouraged people. I said, "Hey, if you want to know about some of the biohacking tools that I use to kind of do this kind of stuff, just shout out to me." So if you watch the video I did on that, you'll see what to do. And then I show you all the information of where you can buy this stuff, right? And around $100, that is like crazy cheap for a device like this, right?
Sure.
Normally, something of that power would probably run about $300 to $500. So I was just blown away when I found that, and I recommend that to everybody now.
And it's anti-aging too.
It is anti-aging. You're right.
Because don't you have an anti-aging room that I went in? What was in there? Was that red light therapy?
So so we actually call it the Optimized Appearance Room.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I have the 4 rooms in the biohack zone. One's for reducing stress, one's for increasing strength, one's for improving circulation and detoxification, and one's for optimizing your appearance.
Yeah.
And all of them have components for anti-aging, right? There's anything you do that reduces your cellular inflammation and toxicity, enables your cells to reproduce in a more healthy manner and last longer, that's anti-aging, right? Yeah. But in terms of, let's get rid of these wrinkles today, that's the Optimized Appearance Room.
Yeah.
Right?
I was in there.
So so you can use it for that too. You can use the same tool for that.
Red light.
Really, really cool stuff. Just shine on your face, right? So it's got to be the right
but you want your eyes open for that.
So yes and no. Okay.
Oh
so
boy.
If you are, it's healing to things like if you have eye problems, eye inflammation, eye dryness. It's healing to that, but you don't want to look right into it, right? So you would have it down here, but the rays go beyond the unit. They go out like 30 degrees all the way around it. So you might have it, the top of it actually here. So the rays go up over your eyes. Don't put it right in front of your eyes.
How close?
So when there's different distances for different purposes, right?
Okay.
So for something like that, where you're trying to get rid of the wrinkles and so on, you want to be pretty much as close as you can get, like 1 to 2 inches away from it, right? Now you can be, because it's small. If you were doing a full body system, you actually want to be 3 feet away.
Okay.
And that's because the further away it is, the more superficial the rays go. So it's going to go to your skin. The reason you want to be closer to this small device is it's very small. And so if you're too far away, you're just simply not going to get the power, right? And it's going to dissipate too widely. But on a full body system, you want to be about 3 feet away for skin toning, removing blemishes, that kind of stuff. For increasing your mitochondrial energy production, you want to be about 12 inches away. For healing a deep joint or muscle injury, about 6 inches away. For melting fat and releasing toxins from your fat cells, about 3 inches away, right? So depending on the size of the device and the distance will determine how effective it is at doing those things, right? But for most of that application, I have 2 full body red lights and now also an additional half body red light, and I surround you in those.
Right.
And then there's a special system specifically designed really for the skin of the face and neck that involves 4 different frequencies of red light and 2 frequencies of amber light. And they work from the surface of the skin all the way down to the bone, right? So it'll even clear up gingivitis on its way through. Pretty cool stuff. So that's actually the most devoted thing that's best for that. That tool runs about $400 for that. But this little one for around $100, you can do an awful lot with that little sucker. I'm telling you, it's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, that's amazing. Absolutely. So light therapy is one way.
So what's another form of energy that goes in waves besides the light waves?
Sound.
Sound. You got it, right? Sound waves.
I'm so smart.
You know, what's that old saying? I don't remember exactly, but something about how the right music can even calm the most vicious beast, right? Yeah. Like I remember there being like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something about that, right? Yeah. With a big gorilla kind of floating along. Yeah. Showing my age here, right?
I know we're the same age.
The body does respond to sound, right? And that's why certain music can really get you in a calm mood. Other music can get you really fired up, right? It really has to do with the frequency, the beat, the vibration. What's going on in that music actually activates different hertz or frequencies that create different changes in your body. There's one hertz, group of frequencies, 528 hertz, which is called the love frequency. And when you hit that, it actually changes your neurochemistry to a state of kindness and love and compassion and empathy. Oh. It's really cool, right? And you can do that frequency through light with a special laser too. Like I can set my laser for all different frequencies, and I can actually put that on your brain at the love frequency, right? But you also can find it in sound waves. And that's one of the reasons why sound healing has been used for centuries all around different cultures, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That we use, right?
Yep, the bowls.
The drums, the verbal tones we use for meditating, Om, right? These traditional things have a very specific frequency. And the reason they're used is they create very real physiological change. And physics has now studied that and realized, wow, that's why all these monks were chanting that way. Or that's why the Dalai Lama said, use this word, right? Because these frequencies, these vibrations that come out in the human voice even are phenomenal in their effect on the body. So you have to be careful about the words you choose to say and mean, right? So even when we have negative self-talk, those words, if you say, oh, I'm such a dummy, and if you really mean it, like I joke around and say stuff like, oh, I'm an idiot. I don't really think I'm an idiot. I don't really believe that, but I might say that, right? But if I really do say like, oh, I'm such an idiot, I can't believe I did that, that actually immediately, that tone changes your neurochemistry. It's crazy, right? But it really does. And they've proven that over and over. And they've actually proven the effect of the words on different forms of matter, like on water. Plants, right?
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So plants and they grow better, right? But it depends on what you say to them.
They've done experiments with plants where you've been negative towards a plant and positive towards a plant. And it's like completely different on how they grow.
Yeah. And people listening is going, oh, that's so crazy. It's all wooey wooey. No, it's not. It's actual
science.
This is as hard and as fast as a science gets, man.
Yeah.
But you just don't understand it. And no one's taught it to you this way. So you think it sounds crazy, right? But it's not. It's physics. It's chemistry. It's biochemistry. Right.
I have the most amazing orchid, and they're very difficult orchids to grow.
They are. I have not been able to talk one into existence for a long time.
Okay. Well, I've had mine since my mother passed away, and it will not stop blooming. So that's been a year and a half, and now it has 36 blooms on it.
That's phenomenal.
It's bloom. I mean, it's probably blooming right now. And I talk to it every day. I'm like, you're so pretty. You're so beautiful. I do. I even put a crystal in it. I do. I tell it, I like really talk to it. Like I get in detail about each bloom and I tell it how great it is. And then more blooms show up. So I don't know.
I mean, so there you exactly. The proof is in the pudding, right?
My orchid.
The proof is in the planting, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's an exact example of that, right? And they've done studies where they actually play like gentle symphonies for plants in a greenhouse, or they play like acid rock. And The ones with the symphonies grow much better. The acid rock ones wilt, right? Now, the funny thing is also, while we know it has a direct independent influence on matter, on structures, it also has in part to do with your perception of the meaning behind that music. Like, I happen to really like hard rock, right? And so some of the stuff I listen to, other people around me think that sounds like horrible. I think it sounds great, right? And that energizes me and makes me feel better.
So your energy becomes positive from that music. And at
Right.
that point,
right. So it's an association that my brain and body have made with that kind of music. But even within that, there are certain levels of that music where I go, what the hell was that? Right. I mean, some stuff gets like just grating, you know?
Yeah. Well, it probably has to do, the feeling has to do with the time, the situation at the time that resonates with you. Too.
Right. Exactly. And it's funny you said resonates, because resonance is an energetic term, right? So resonance is when two different wavelengths come together and start going at the same wavelength and build on each other.
Right.
So we use things like that resonates. That's a good vibe, right? Vibration and resonance, because we innately know that makes us feel better, right? Or it doesn't, right? So when we talk about chaos and dissonance and discord, that's when all these waves are crashing into each other and they do not match. And it creates a lot of negative energy, right? Static, garbage, right? Even the wiring coming into your house, right? That wiring coming to your house has a lot of dirty electricity in it, which means some of it's going in this nice frequency, but a lot of it is just shooting around. And the wiring in your house has to kind of pull that all in and form that current that operates our machinery. But you waste a lot of electricity with that dirty electricity, and that can create issues. And there are actually devices you can use. I have some plugged in my house that actually take a lot of that dirty electricity and help clean it up. And it lowers your energy bill, right? Because you're not wasting a lot of that energy. So it's cool stuff.
It's almost like filtering it.
What's that?
It's like a filter.
Yeah. It's kind of like a filter. Little thing that plugs into your outlet. And so it's pretty cool, right? It harmonizes that energy frequency, gets rid of that dirty electricity. So there's all different ways in which we can harness this knowledge.
Are you going to put that in your Facebook group?
Maybe. I'll think about
it.
Right?
I know. I'm going to have to go there to find all this stuff.
Yeah.
I need one of those too.
So actually, I did a cellular healing tip today because it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
And today was all about the importance of oxygen for longevity and for healing and repair. And I was talking about that. And on Thursday, I'm going to go into more of a detailed video about that. So if you want to learn more about some of this stuff and get all this old past stuff that we just talked about in detail about kind of what we're talking about tonight, go ahead and join that Facebook group, right? Get in there. You can, I never delete anything, right?
Like do you share the podcast in there too?
So what I do is I try and make it small tidbits of information, right?
Okay.
Yeah. A little bite to chew off. So I do a little written piece. It takes you a couple minutes to read. On Thursday, I do a 10 to 30 minute video. And then I say, hey, if you really want more information on this topic, you want to really hunker down for a good hour or listen to me talk about this, here's a link to the podcast. Okay. You know, so then people can raise their hand and I'll give it to them instead of me just blasting everybody with it. Even though we love it.
Yeah, they can
everybody will sit down for an hour, right? And listen to me. So I do give them the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, it's a lot. We talk about a lot on these things. Okay, so we've got light therapy, we've got sound therapy.
Talk about sound therapy. Now, the study of sound therapy is called acoustics, right? Now, that's the study of waves and their effect in sound traveling through air. You actually cannot have sound without air because sound waves are only propagated by pushing air around, right? So if you're in a vacuum, no matter how loud something should be, it's silent. Interesting, right? So that's why there's actually no sound in space. So when you see these movies and the jet goes, that doesn't really happen. There's no sound in space, right? But here we push air waves around and that produces what we perceive as what we call sound. That's the study of acoustics. Now, even without that sound that we hear, when those waves actually change matter and produce a different pattern in that matter, that's called cymatics, right? And that's a study of the effect of sound waves on physical structures. And that is some really cool stuff. So actually, just last week, I did my post on that. while I was traveling, right? I was getting bored sitting in the airports. So I did all these different posts. And I did a post all about cymatics because I just watched this really cool music video where this musician plays a really pretty cool tune that he does it with. They take these plates and they pour like sand on them, right? And then they play a note and you'll see the sand vibrate and it produces these different structures, right? Okay. And it's amazing to see how different notes produce completely different structures. And it's kind of looking at like snowflakes with different shapes, right? And it's wild to watch the effect that sound wave or that note has on these molecules, right? And they also do it through water. And you can see water create completely different ripple patterns or different structures, honeycomb, waves, spikes, all kinds of things. They had a running tube of water, and when they hit the bass drum, it immediately turns into a corkscrew. What? Every time. It's wild. So you think, okay, I'm looking at that and I'm going, that was a really cool video. That was fun to watch. But look what it just did to that water. It took that water and going from a stream to a complete corkscrew every time he hit that bass drum.
And what percentage of our body is made of water?
Yep. Right. So it's really interesting.
I know.
Right. Even
right. Even I know where we're going here.
Even the concept of an MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. We get an MRI image done of our body to see our soft tissues on the inside, maybe our discs or an organ. How does that work? What's an MRI doing? It's magnetic resonance imaging. So it's using the magnetic portion of that electromagnetic wave to create a resonance and shift the water molecules inside your body to change their spin pattern to instantly create a shift, and that creates a imprint image. Wow. Wild, right? So as of now, we don't believe that has a side effect. I'm not so sure, right? Has it been around long enough for us to know? I don't know. It doesn't appear to have a side effect, but it's momentarily stopping the electrons in the water molecules and atoms from spinning in a certain direction and shifting them to produce an image. Another form of electromagnetic energy is radiation. And we also use imaging like X-ray or a CAT scan, right? A CAT scan or CT is computerized tomography. And that is actually taking lots of X-rays and layering them to produce a 3D image, right? So there's all different ways in which we use all these forms of energy. And all of this actually falls on the light spectrum. Even X-ray is on the light spectrum, right? So just wild stuff, to me, it really is. It's just fascinating, So we can use sound to heal as well. So there are, you may have heard of something called binaural beats, right? Binaural beats are very commonly used to try to retrain the brain to reach a different brainwave state. So if you're in a state of anxiety, you might want to use these earphones playing a binaural beat. It puts one beat in here, a different beat in here, or a different tone or frequency. To you, it just sounds like music. But those two beats come together inside your head and meet each other in your brain and produce a third beat. And that third beat starts to create a different brainwave pattern, right? And so that's some really cool stuff that you can use. And you can look up binaural beats on YouTube and play the music, right? And they'll have different frequencies. Like we talked about that love frequency and healing frequencies. I'm not sure if YouTube.
What were the headphones at your biohack gym? What was that? Right? Okay, so that's different. Right.
So I was going to say, I'm not sure if you can trust everything that's on YouTube to really be what it says it is. I don't know. But there is one particular piece for binaural beats called Magnetic Minds on YouTube. And Magnetic Minds has a whole selection of different music infused with binaural beats for different purposes that you can use to change your mood or help you sleep, right? Or help you focus. Those are all great. Now, what you experience in my office is like binaural beats on steroids, right?
That was wild.
Yeah. So the guy who created binaural beats says it wasn't everything I'd hoped it would be. It works, but not as well as I thought it would, right? It definitely helps, but I was expecting more out of it. Well, another group of PhDs studied his work and put a couple of different things together and figured out that not only those binaural beats, but there's certain ways in which you tweak them along with 3D spatiation, and you hear these tones going around in the background of the music, that really entrains the brain to a new brainwave state extremely quickly. So they found using MRI, something called functional MRI, where they give your brain an infusion of sugar water, and they can measure that because they actually put a radioactive isotope in it. Doesn't sound very healthy, but they can actually do an image, and they can see what parts of the brain light up as it's eating more of that sugar water. Mm-hmm. And the parts of the brain that are active are the ones that are going to be using that sugar water. So they can tell when you do different tasks, what part of the brain lights up. And you're like, oh, that comes from here, that comes from there. Well, they found that when they use this brain entrainment software they created, played through regular headphones that you can play right through your phone, that it took your brain from a state of high stress and anxiety to a state of deep relaxation and actually healing that would normally take about 4 or 5 hours of deep sleep to get to. They can get you there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like nothing I'd ever experienced.
It's really cool. And of course, in my office, we combine that while you're listening to that, while you're on a hydro massage table, like a jacuzzi, but you don't get wet. So again, we're using vibration and waves to relax your muscles and a rhythm that relaxes your brain while you're listening to those. And then we add a special clip on your ear that sends another electrical charge, another frequency, to activate a nerve that comes out in your ear called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve comes directly off your brain, but it does have a branch that goes to the ear, but then it goes down and goes to every major organ in your body. And your vagus nerve controls your rest, repair, heal, and digestion systems. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And if you have the right frequency at the right pulse width, so I set up the device to do that, it turns your vagus nerve on instantly and puts you deeply into a healing state. So when you do that session in my office for just 15 minutes, you're fully relaxing your body, fully relaxing your brain, putting your brain waves into a deep, focused relaxation healing state, and turning on your nervous system for healing. So you get an incredible experience, just boom, like that.
It really is.
It's really cool. People come out there like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then that keeps your body in that state the rest of that day and that night where you are in this optimized healing state. And everything, like you can focus better, you can read better, everything, people come off and tell me, did you just turn the lights on brighter? I'm like, no. They said, well, it looks brighter to me. Or I can hear the music more clearly because everything dials in, right? Everything starts to focus better. It's pretty cool stuff. How
often would you do something like that?
You can do that every day.
You can.
Yeah, I have people come in.
And I want to talk to you about the vagus nerve too, because I've heard, I've just been hearing a little bit of buzz about that. That might be something.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, you can buy, it used to be that, and the only way to stimulate the vagus nerve was with an internal device like a pacemaker for your heart, but for your vagus nerve that they put in your neck. It cost about $150,000. And it was really only FDA approved for depression and epilepsy because they found it really helped those two things by stimulating the vagus nerve. But we know the vagus nerve controls every major organ and gland and activates all of your healing and repair and your digestion. So it really helps quite a few things, right? So then different companies came out trying to make external vagus nerve stimulators, and they have to work through the skin. Your skin is called cutaneous, so they're called transcutaneous for through the skin vagus nerve stimulators, right? So it's abbreviated small t VNS, capital VNS, transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulator. So you can find these devices. Some are only for use in medical clinics. Some are home devices. But even the home devices run anywhere from about $350 to $650, right? Now, what I did was I bought one of those devices and I looked up the schematics of the circuitry and of the settings for it. And I went and got different equipment on my own and I built my own, right? So that's the ones I use in my office, right? So I combine different parts and because I can build it for $150, right? And so I build that for my patients or for anyone who wants one, so if someone out there is interested in a vagus nerve stimulator, go ahead and shout out to me and we can mail you one, right?
That's great. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be on that list then.
Actually, I just recently created what I think is really cool. I call it the Biohacking Boost Package.
Right? Okay. All right. So, what's that?
You may know on my online functional medicine courses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is called Restore Your Health Online.
Mm-hmm.
That's where people can choose 3 different levels of service. They can get my app for dietary direction. They can have group coaching through personal protocols, and they can have individual coaching with Cell Health Consulting. But for those 2 higher level programs, they can also purchase as an add-on the Biohacking Boost package. And that's where I actually handpicked 6 of what I think are probably the most important of the 14 different tools I have in the biohack zone. These are the things I would like everybody to do like daily. The other stuff's great to do whenever you can. But these 6 things, man, this is what's really going to heal your cells the fastest and really be synergistic. So I picked those 6 things. And what I do is I actually buy them directly from the manufacturer, have them mailed directly to your home so you can create your own cellular health spa in about a not even 6 by 6, about 3 by 3 footprint in your house. So it doesn't have, I have one here in my own house. I have it set up on the back of my bedroom door, right? So I've got a full body red light therapy. I've got a vibration platform. I've got a vagus nerve stimulator. I've got the psychoacoustic headset. I've got a PEMF mat for pulse electromagnetic frequencies for increasing my circulation. And I've got an infrared sauna, right? So it's all those things combined. And I also give you a video I produced where I teach you how to use all those things, right?
That's great.
Yeah. So it's the whole package, right? And that whole thing is $2,000, right? So it's, and people, if you look this stuff up and you went to like a biohacking spa like mine, you know, some people can spend $20,000 on that stuff.
Oh, easy.
Right. But I have a knack for finding like the 99% is good, cheaper version.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't need to spend $20,000 when you can spend 2.
Right.
Right. But you can dramatically help your cells heal, help you overcome chronic illness. So when someone's local and they're working with me, I have them come into the biohack zone. Right. And they come in and do stuff daily in my office or every other day or whatever they can do. Right. So they don't have to spend $2,000 because they can come use my equipment with me here. And it's like a gym. You have a membership. Right. But if they're not local and I work with people all around the country, then I say, hey, you know, it really would behoove you to use these biohacking tools. It gets you the absolute fastest maximum results in the minimum time and really speeds up your cellular healing and repair. Everything else we're trying to do together will work so much better. If you're doing this, that's when I encourage people to get the Biohack Boost package, right?
Right.
So they don't have to be working with me to benefit from the Biohack Boost package, but that's why I created it as an
ad. No, I think it's great. I love it.
So,
you know, we're coming up on the hour.
All right.
Are we done with the show?
Well, I think we are. I think we covered a lot of bases.
Well, and if you want to learn more, there are 2 ways to learn more. One, Dr. Wild can help.com.
There it is.
And
on
Restore
Facebook,
Your Health
Online has a Facebook group.
There's a Facebook group, and you can chat all day with this man.
Well, not really all day.
In between patients.
So what I do is I'm actually interacting with that group at least twice a week, if not more. You can shout out questions there. And as soon as I can see it, I'll get to it. So I'll always answer it within a couple of days. When people actually join one of my personalized functional medicine Restore Your Health Online programs, and I'm working one-on-one with you as a coach, we then have a separate private Facebook group for that, where it's a question and answer group, and I check it twice a day. So that's where you get me all the time. And you also I have an accountability coach who communicates with you every week to help you stay on track. Right? Yeah, because I ask you to jump through a few hoops, you know?
Yeah, you do.
I do. Right. And it tends to be better if you have to be accountable. Right. So if you're going to go to the gym, do you work out better by yourself or is someone's waiting there for you to get there at a certain time? Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Having accountability buddies are so important.
Absolutely. So I made that as part of my Restore Your Health Online programs is everyone gets assigned their personal accountability coach. So besides having me for actual coaching about test results and lifestyle changes and supplement guidelines and what we're going to do to fix whatever we found was wrong with you, the accountability coach is there checking in with you every week, video chatting you every other week, and making sure that you stay on track.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, Michael, so awesome seeing you. I'm so glad you had a wonderful trip in Alaska, spent time with your daughter. Ralphie seems good.
Yep, Ralphie's a happy
Uh,
camper now that I'm home.
you know, yeah, I'll see you next month.
Absolutely.
Right? All
And
right. What's next month? That's
I
April.
don't know. You want to
Okay.
talk more about the vagus nerve? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. What we want to talk about. But I know it'll be very interesting, and I will learn more. I'm so smart because of you. You know this, right? Two
Well,
years.
yeah.
People have no idea. Like before we hop on, I'm like typing away all these words I've never heard. What does this mean? But I'm learning right along with everybody else.
Well, it's been a
It's not like I learned this stuff before the show. This is probably the only show that I do that I just let you fly.
and I appreciate that because you really can't get a word in edgewise with me anyway.
It's actually the easiest show I do.
Well, that's cool.
I make fun of myself, which I know we shouldn't do that, but I make fun of myself because I'm like, oh, Michael's on. I'm just like, oh,
Well,
really? Oh, wow. Oh. That's all I do.
there's nothing wrong making fun of yourself if you
Yeah.
do it in a lighthearted way and you're
Yeah,
not putting yourself down. And don't put down the people around you either. Your words have power.
Yeah.
So be kind.
Be kind. You got it.
All right.
All right. I will talk to
Peace
you
out.
soon, my friend.
All right. Next
Bye,
month.
Ralphie. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening with Dr. Michael Wild. We will be back again, I think, in a couple of weeks. I'll have to check my schedule. I didn't actually even have time to see who's on next, but I will certainly get that information out to you. Thank you so much for joining us, and take care and have a good night.